Hello, my name is Carrie Kellogg. I'm the owner-operator of MK Unique Designs. And I thought I would walk you through how I develop and get ready my submission for the spinning box. Currently I'm working on the May spinning box. The theme for this spinning box is Cupcakes and Other Baked Delicacies. This will be in the May spinning box. So you won't get to watch this video till after the box comes out. Anyhow, we get a yearly list of what our monthly submissions are going to be. And the first thing I do is I type in the name of the theme and go from there and look around and see what there is. And my decision for the cupcake theme was to do a Snickers cupcake. So we're going to use the colors of this cupcake. We're going to use dark brown, royal blue, a little white, some red, and of course a little bit of caramel topping. So we're going to watch how I go ahead and measure out the ingredients for my cupcakes. I hope you enjoy the journey. Thank you for watching. So the things that I need for making cupcakes, I need the cupcake itself. And for this month I've chosen a brown Corriedale. It's a very soft fiber. It's kind of the right color. So I thought that would make a great base. And then I've chosen a little splash of color. We're going to use this red Merino Tussa blend to just put a little bit of color in our bat. So this is a merino that has been blended with some Tussa silk. I'm also going to add, because of course, you know, Snickers has that brilliant blue. I'm going to add a royal blue splash of color. And this is also a Merino Tussa blend. Looks a little light on the camera, but it's actually kind of a royal blue. And then because Snickers has a little bit of caramel in it, I have a Sienna Merino. Let's see if we can get this open. So we're going to drizzle some caramel over the top of our cupcake. And then, if we need a little contrast, I'm going to add a little bit of white. Probably a mulberry or a Tussa, or even just a little merino, just to add a little bit of lightness to the cupcake. So the first thing I do is our bats need to weigh 1 ounce. So I get my scales with my dollar store basket. And I'm going to weigh out almost 1 ounce. Because I'm going to be adding some other colors, that's going to make up the difference. So about a 0.8 Then we're going to add a little bit of the blue. And a little bit of the red as soon as I find the end. Which finding the end sometimes can be just an exercise in unwrapping the entire bag. Just a little bit of red. A little caramel sauce. And I think I'm going to add some Tussa silk. So since I've got some open, we're just going to go ahead and use out of my stock. Just a little bit of Tussa. Don't want to overwhelm it. So presently this bat weighs 1.3 ounces. I usually weigh them a little bit heavy because the carder does eat a little bit of the fiber left over. It stays on the carder. So what we have here is a Snickers Cupcake bat. So I'm going to run it through the carder, see what it looks like, spin it up, knit it up, and we'll see if I want to go ahead and lay out the rest of my bats. Alright, here we go. In case you're wondering, my carder is a Brother drum carder. It was a manual drum carder that my husband put a motor on for me. Thank goodness he's handy like that. The first thing I do is I shake my roving a little bit because it's been compacted in its bag. Turn on my drum carder. I always look for any vegetable matter that might be in there and try to pick that out. There's nothing worse than spinning and running across big old hunks of hay. They always say you should be able to read a newspaper through your fiber when you put it on your drum carder. I just put it on and pull it back and kind of dig through it and let the drum carder take it as it will. I separate it out to kind of get good coverage on my drum carder. And I'm going to go ahead and feed all of the brown, I think, in, and then put my colors on the top. And I'm just separating out and picking out the chaff and the dirt. I just pull back and slightly let it draft out. And you can see these great big pieces in here. And I just keep separating it out, drafting it back a little bit in order to get some really good evenness in my bat. This Corriedale was very dirty. We're picking out quite a bit, it looks like. It's not unusual to get debris in your roving. So next I have the blue, the red, and the white, and then the caramel sauce. I think I'm going to paint this on because I'm not real sure how much I'm going to put on. So what I'm doing is I'm just holding it and letting the tines of the carder take the fiber out of my hand. Let's paint some blue on there. When I'm prepping for a spinning month, I think about what is it that's going to make my bat different. How am I going to package it? What's my theme? We're going to put a little caramel sauce on here. So I'm just lightly letting the carder take what fiber it wants from my hand. Maybe we'll put a little caramel over the color too. In this month with the Snickers, I'll put a little Snickers bar in, and I found these really cute little boxes that are dark brown on the outside, bright yellow on the inside. And I've got a picture of the Snickers Cupcakes going to go on the sticker that will go on the bag, or go on the box. So I'm just kind of zigzagging this back and forth across the bat, letting the tines pull it in. I may not stick with this design. This is my initial trial run here. But when you pull it off, these fibers will kind of lay different ways. So I'll let it run around once or twice to smooth it down, and then I'm going to pull it off and we'll see what we've got. So here is my Snickers Cupcake bat. Got the red, the blue, and the caramel with the brown on the back. And if I fold this and roll it up, what's going to get seen is just the brown, which is very pretty. So I'm going to go and spin this up and see what we get. Alright, here we go with spinning up my bat. I have a ladybug, a shocked ladybug, that a friend of mine sold me. It has a woolly winder on it. And I want to give the shout out to Sheila. I had an Ashford kiwi, which I loved, but I love the ladybug. So I usually do a fairly thick bat, or thick ply, so I can see the colors and how it's going to lay out. Usually doesn't take me too long to spin up about an ounce of fiber. Right now I'm on the blue side. I'm trying to decide if I want to go down the blue side and then down the red side, or kind of mix the two. So I think what I'm going to do is go down the blue side. So I'm going to go ahead and rip the bat in half. That way I won't accidentally get across the colors. Then when I ply, I'll be plying the blue against the red. So I just go back and forth across the end of the bat. I'm still a pinch and pull. To give you a little history, I've been spinning, in April will be 2 years. I got into spinning because I had too much wool on my hands. I started with needle felting, which I love, and wanted to do needle felting cheaper, so I started processing my own fiber. I got a drum carder, well I got hand carders and a blending board, and then I started buying raw fleeces and dyeing, and I ended up with a lot of wool. Way more wool than I could spin, or could needle felt. So I sat looking at the fiber and I'm like, what in the world can I do next? And decided to start spinning. When I was growing up, my aunt had a spinning wheel. I think it was a art piece. I never saw anyone spin on it, but I would sit and play with that wheel. So I bought an electric wheel and learned how to spin on an electric wheel. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go old school, and I bought a kiwi and spun on the kiwi. My kiwi looks like it's worn completely out. And then a friend of mine was downsizing and asked me if I wanted the ladybug, and of course I did. So I got the ladybug with the woolly winder, and now I need a woolly winder for my kiwi because I love the woolly winder. If you've never seen one, it winds. You don't have to keep stopping and moving your fiber down the bobbin. It winds it on and makes a very pretty bobbin. So anyhow, I started spinning, and man, did I spin. I spun and I spun and I spun and I spun. I have a lot of yarn laying around in my house, and I did nothing with it. I know how to crochet, but I didn't like it. Refused to learn how to knit because knitting seemed to be more like math to me. And how do you know when you should knit and when you should purl? And then there's all those abbreviations which make no sense to me. So I said, forget it, I won't learn to knit. And a friend of mine came over and she's like, you know, I can teach you how to knit. So I started knitting. And now I knit. I'm knitting socks and hats, and everybody got those for Christmas presents. Next year they're getting mittens, probably more socks. So then I met up with Mary from the Spinning Box, and I actually saw a video of hers on YouTube from the very first Spinning Box, and I was completely intrigued and ordered mine. Sent her an email and said, how can I get involved? And I've been doing it well over a year. I actually went back and looked at some of my old videos of spinning boxes. But this is the first time I'm going to do a start to finish, kind of how I process and get a theme ready. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera so that you can see what the bobbin is looking like. As you can see, that blue is just putting a little bit of stripe of blue in with the dark brown. It's a color combination I really like. So now that you know a little bit about me, after you watch the video, go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself. I'd love to know how you kind of got started in the fiber arts. I'm going to be here for a little bit, and I don't think you want to watch me sit here and tug and spin and tug and spin. So I'll be back. Alright, I finished spinning up the yarn. And now I am going to wind it into a center pull ball and apply it back. So I'm going to show you this center pull ball machine that I've got. This was a lovely Christmas present. One I use several times a day. I'll put a knot in the end so it'll have something to catch on. Usually I have to do it 2 or 3 times to get it started. Let me take the tension off of my At some point I'll figure out how to make it not do that, and if anybody has any tips on that, please let me know. There we go. Alright, so what I need to do is make sure I get both ends of the center pull up, take the ball off, and we're ready to ply these 2 ends together. If you're new to spinning and you happen to pick this as your first video on spinning, I am not a technical spinner. The S-ply, Z-ply baffles me. I just spin the first ply to the right and the first spin to the right, and when I apply to the left. I probably don't do it correctly, but that's the way I do it. So I spun going to the right, going in this direction, so I need to spin this way to ply. And I took a lot of tension off when I was winding that ball, so I've got to get that back on. I'm going to build up some twist in the fiber, and then I'm just going to use my center pull ball. And the way I hold my ball is I hold the ball with the hole going forwards and let it feed off the back end. Usually I have to adjust my hands a couple times. Let's see here if you can see this. So I'm letting the fiber come out the center of the ball, right here, and I use my hands to kind of pull it back and to do some tension. Usually, if I'm not working on a project, I will actually let what a lot of people say, I'll let the yarn rest. Actually, what happens is I get lazy and I leave it on the bobbin for a few days. I don't know if that's called resting or not. We'll see if we can get this where you can see a little bit better what my hands are doing here. I also am going to spin this. Going to knit this right away, and normally I will let it, I'll wash it and let it rest also. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera to the other view so that maybe you can see a little bit better kind of from that angle how I'm letting this ball unwind. All right. And I just kind of use my fingers to roll the ball around. I'm not quite far enough away from my orifice, so let me move you back just a little bit. There you go. And what happens is the yarn pulls off the side. I also have a yarn bowl that I use. That lets me basically leave the yarn in the bowl. And I'm able to let the bowl do the holding. But when I'm only doing an ounce, I usually just hold it. Maybe a different angle here. And I've heard a lot of talk about people getting kind of globby knots in their center pull ball, and I'm not saying that I won't, because I have had them. But the center pull, or the ball winder that I have, very rarely do I get the globby knots. And I'm using my left hand to kind of pull back a little bit to give me a little tension. My right hand is just guiding the fiber and letting the twist go up. I have had it where I've had a center pull ball and a glob and very, very twisty yarn, and I end up feeling like I need more hands and more feet than I have. I've used my teeth. I've had people come and help me hold on to things while I unwound everything. All right. I'm going to put that back just a little bit. So I'm going to pull even further back. You see the ball's getting smaller and smaller and rolling around in my hand. I find if I keep my pointer finger in front or behind the yarn, coming out of the center, it doesn't get wrapped up in the other ply. If you'll look, the other ply is unwrapping this way around. Sorry, it's unwrapping this way. And if you don't keep this one separate, this one will wrap up and twist on you, and then you get a nice knot. I'll catch back up because I unwound some yarn there. I do tend to get kinks in my hand and my forearm when I do this if I don't change positions frequently. So you'll see me kind of roll my arm or slide back and get into a new position with the ball. So I'm just going to sit here and finish plying this. It doesn't take long to ply 1 ounce. I put a lot of twist in my singles, so I have to put a lot of, or undo a lot of twist. And somehow I managed to get a semi-balanced yarn. Also not something I really worry about too much. As I said, I'm not a technical spinner yet. I figure if I can get a hat or a pair of socks or a scarf out of what I spin, that's about as much as I want. See the balls getting smaller and smaller. At some point, we're going to meet in the middle. Alright, as you can see, we are almost finished. We're down to that little bit right there. And I am just going to keep spinning until it meets in the middle. And we're done. Here we go. Here's my yarn. And as you can tell, the test is whether it curls back on itself, and mine does. Means it's not really balanced. But I find after I wash it that it balances itself out. I am going to go ahead and knit up a swatch and see what comes of it. Since I told you we were going to do this from start to finish, we're just going to sit here right at the spinning wheel and spin right off the wheel. I'm not doing this to see what the yarn does. I'm just doing it to see what the colors are. So first thing I do is make my slip knot. I'm going to cast on, long tail cast on method. About 20 stitches. 3. For the sake of today, let's just do 15 stitches. I'm using what I think is a number 10 circular needle. I kind of knit like I spin. Whatever works is what I do. I've been knitting regularly for about 6 months. I learned just over a year ago, or right at a year ago, how to knit. So also not a technical knitter. I believe I knit continental. Basically, I scoured YouTube and it said fast way to knit. So that's what I did. I have lots of knitting needles. The circulars are pretty much my favorite. I pretty much knit everything on them. I find I don't drop as much. It's much easier for me to keep up with them when I put it down. I don't have to worry about my needles losing their work. Right now I'm in a red and red area where when I plied, it plied the two ends had all the red in it. I see that some blue is coming, so it'll be interesting to see what that does. And what I'll do is, after I'm done, I keep a little skein, and I'll take it down and wash it and see what the skein looks like and how the yarn lays. But as I said, I'm doing the swatching and the skeining, or the spinning, more just to see the colors and how they flow. One thing I did decide while I was spinning is I'm going to put the caramel in between the 2 layers of brown. I didn't see enough caramel when I was spinning. Okay, now we're getting into the ply that has some blues and whites in it. I don't know if you can see that or not. I have a feeling one day my family will unearth all these little swatches that I've done. And somebody will sit and laugh at my knitting. But that's okay, I get the job done. People have warm heads, warm feet, and warm necks this year. Alright, so I finished knitting up the swatch, and here it is. You can see the subtle shades of blue and red with the little flecks of white with silk put in there. I am going to, I think, add more of the caramel color because I think that's going to really accent it. You can see little bits of it here and there, but I don't think it's enough for what I wanted. I want you to really see the caramel. Here's the little skein that was the rest of the yarn that I made. And what I do is I keep these, I write down the color so that I can recreate this bat if people would like it. Well, thank you for watching. This is the Snickers Cupcake bat video, which will be in the May spinning box. So if you would like a spinning box, you can go to spinningbox.com and sign up to get yours. Thanks again for watching. This is Carrie Kellogg from MK Unique Designs.